Hi guys, we are going to discuss sports nutrition today. So why is nutrition so important when exercising? Of course, it fuels you for the exercise that you're gonna do. It's gonna sustain you during exercise and it helps with optimal recovery. And of course, then you have your goals. Of course, maybe you might be wanting to lose weight with the exercise. Maybe you wanna build muscle. Maybe you just wanna get faster and better. So every one of those goals or whatever else you have in mind will need proper nutrition, and your nutrition kind of implementation will look different according to your goals. That's why it's important to have individual guidelines as well and look at it as a whole and not just give general guidelines, be like this works for everybody. Not everything works for everybody, okay? It's very individual. So let's start with the basics. Carbohydrates. Okay, so carbs are going to fuel you for your exercise. It's going to give you energy, and it's also important to build up what we call the glycogen reserves. The glycogen is basically the storage of the carbs that's in the liver and in the muscles. You are going to rely on those glycogen stores during exercise to fuel you further, okay? To prepare yourself before exercise, about 3 to 4 hours before exercise, you can have a proper meal. Okay, it shouldn't be an excessively heavy meal because then you are going to feel sluggish during exercise. And then about an hour before exercise, you can have another small snack if needed, like maybe a fruit or a small sandwich or something like that. And again, it shouldn't be a too heavy meal, okay? Some resources say that your pre-exercise meal shouldn't have more than 25% of energy derived from fat, because they feel that fat is going to slow the digestive emptying, the gastric emptying, and going to just kind of delay everything and delay the release of the energy. That's a valid pointer, but honestly everybody is different. So for example, those people that are fat adapted, that are used to running on low carbs and more high fat diets, of course they are going to be able to manage higher fat intake a lot better. Okay, so it's very individual, but as a general rule, 3 to 4 hours before exercise, you have your meal. If you need another snack before exercise, about an hour before, then you are ready to go. Okay, so now you start exercising. If it's a short exercise, less than an hour, not a big deal. You can go without a snack in between, and you just have to eat soon after your exercise. But if it carries on for longer than an hour, between 1 and 2 hours, you would need about 30 grams per hour. Between 2 to 3 hours of exercise, you would need up to 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour, and longer than that, up to 90. So that is so much. Okay, so it seems overwhelming. Of course, not everybody is going to consume these amount of carbs. Okay, so especially, like I said, if you're not used to having that many carbs, or if you are fat adapted or something like that. So not one size fits all, but generally carbs are very effective in fueling you during exercise. And carbs are also protein sparing, so meaning they are going to give your body energy instead of your body having to break down the protein for energy. So carbs are known to be protein sparing as well. Okay, then after exercise, you need carbs again. Okay, so a lot of carbs happening here. So the amount of carbs again are going to depend on the intensity, how used to carbs you are, all of that stuff. So I'm not going to give specific recommendations with this. But within an hour at least, some people even say 30 minutes, you need to have a carbohydrate. And then what about low GI carbs versus high GI carbs to fuel your exercise? Well, again, studies show a little bit of a mixed result here. If you're going to go for a short exercise period, you can do definitely the faster releasing carbohydrates because you're going to burn off those carbs very, very quickly. But of course, there are a few considerations. So for example, are you diabetic? Is this going to really spike your blood sugar excessively high? Low GI carbs have been shown that there is a potential beneficial effect for the longer duration exercise at suboptimal effort. So if you're kind of going to go slow and steady, that type of thing. But the benefit of this is kind of eliminated if you're going to have carbs during your exercise. So then there's not really a benefit. But after exercise, if you need to recover quickly, so in preparation for maybe the next race or the next session or whatever, the high GI carbs are going to get you there faster, basically. So that's the recommendations there. But you can't just have carbohydrates after exercise. You need protein as well, okay? So the protein is going to help your muscle recover and build muscle. Very, very important. Some studies show that there are a little bit of benefits of having some amino acids before training as well. But honestly speaking, you're probably going to have proteins during the day before your exercise regime. So you don't have to have like a chicken breast before you go train, if you know what I'm saying. So the carbs are almost in a way more important before training, and then post-training carbs and proteins are very, very important. But again, it depends how your body has adapted. And then what about fat? Fat is also needed in the diet. Of course, we want to focus on the anti-inflammatory fats more, so the omega-3, and then also unsaturated fats, which are plant fats. So consume that during the day. If you're fat adapted, you might be using it differently. Okay, so that's another ball game. We're not going to discuss that at the moment. Okay, and then another big one is fluid and hydration. And I think this is something that we sometimes forget about a little bit, and we shouldn't at all, because it's such a massive thing. But you know, we think, oh, carbs and protein and blah, 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 and we forget about hydration. About 2 to 3 hours before training already, it's important to really make sure that you are getting hydrated. If even you are a little bit dehydrated during your exercise, your performance is going to reduce quite dramatically. So 2 to 3 hours before exercise, drink about 2 to 3 cups before. Okay. And then about 30 minutes before exercise, you need to drink about half to 1 cup of water before you start exercise. Every 15 minutes or so, you need to be drinking about half to 1 cup of fluid. Before you start exercising, weigh yourself before and after, and then see what the weight difference is, because that weight difference is going to be fluid loss. It's not going to be fat immediately. So then you can assume that that kilogram weight loss was about equivalent to the liters of water. So if you lost 1 kilogram of weight before and after, you lost 1 kilogram of fluid. You can't just be consuming 1 kilogram of water, which would be 1 liter of water afterwards. You need to drink a little bit more. Okay, so for every 500 grams of weight that you lose, you need to drink about 2.5 cups of fluid. Then what about electrolytes? Of course, electrolytes are very important. So especially if you're going to exercise for longer than an hour, and if you're sweating a lot, or if it's really hot outside, you need to be thinking about electrolytes, especially sodium. It's quite easy for us to become hyponatremic if we lose a lot of water, or if we drink excessive water without replacing the sodium. So you need about 0.5 to 0.7 grams of sodium per liter of water that you are drinking. With replacement of electrolytes, there are a lot of options. Of course, you get the sports drinks, which have the carbs in already, which have electrolytes in, so maybe use that during exercise if it's a longer duration. And you also get fizzy tablets with electrolytes, and there are options without sugar. So if you just want water with the electrolytes and you want to rather eat your carbs, maybe banana or whatever, you can also do that and then just drink the water with the electrolytes. That's also an option. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Just a little bit of basics. Of course, like I said, it's very individual. So don't take this 100% as gospel. It is science-based. It is according to research studies, but honestly, everybody is different. So even if you're talking about things like fasted exercise or non-fasted exercise, it's different according to the individual. So there's a lot of things that, you know, you might feel great this way, you might feel bad this way. It's a little bit of trial and error, especially when it comes to the food before and during exercise. Like some people get a lot of digestive complaints with certain foods or with certain carbs. So you need to figure out what works for you. But individual is the whole aim of the game. Okay, so that's why if you need help, go speak to your dietitian, go speak to a healthcare professional that knows what they're doing, that can help you find the best fit for you. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll happily get back to you, and hit subscribe if you want to see more of this.